just blocked off the back because they don't have the seat protectors. So we want to keep the plane in good shape, basically. The second cabin has 60 seats. So there are 100 seats on the plane. It stretches back pretty far.
How old is this plane?
This one, same era. So this first entered service in 1976. The first flights for both British Air and Air France were January 21st, 1976. The interior of this one is newer. Around the year 2000, they hired a British designer, Sir Terence Conran, to redo the inside, make it look more modern. Because yeah, the 76 interior is like gray and blobby. Probably looked chic in 1976, but they wanted to update it, and that's why it looks a little bit newer in here.
So all the seats were the same. It was like a standard class.
Yeah. There's not first or second class on Concorde. It's all Concorde class.
Yeah.
Because you're part of an elite club, so to speak. It's already a pretty special thing, so they don't divide people up that way. Pretty small overheads too, small windows, small accommodation for luggage, things like that. And that's because you don't want a lot of extra weight on the plane, right? This plane carries about 100 tons of fuel, and it's going to need most of that to get across the ocean. It burns about 96 tons of fuel to do the transatlantic flight. There's not a lot left over. We don't want to have to burn any extra because of weight on the plane, so you have luggage limitations basically.
So did they have big luggage underneath, or did they?
In the back, no underneath space. You had 12 kilo limitation up here and something like 70 for stowage in the back behind the galleys. But not, if you wanted to carry any more than that, you'd have to put it on another plane.
Did they have any meals, or did they just have drinks?
Meals and drinks. The tickets, the company foots the bill, but they write down numbers. The numbers are very high relative to what they're actually paying, and so actually British Airways just kind of quietly raises the price to meet what they think they're already paying, and then BA starts making money on the plane. At that point, you're talking more like 5,000 and up pounds per flight, so it's pretty expensive. In addition to that great food, right? You're having this experience. You're flying between 50 and 60,000 feet high, right? It's almost twice as high as normal jets are operating. You're going significantly faster. If you're wondering, what's happening around you, there are indicators up here. They're called Marilic indicators, and they're telling you flight information. Your speed, your altitude, your Mach number, which is the really cool thing. How many times speed of sound are you traveling at, right? Both cabins have them, and they're being constantly updated with your flight information. Maybe their course was a similar length. I don't know if they had a different set of classes or whatever.
And it's not a flying.
There's so many circuits, there's so many electrical systems. That's what all of this stuff is. These are all circuits, all fuses basically. You have two wings. These are just two for the left wing, two for the right wing. But it's pretty crazy. You want me to take a picture of the two with everything in the background?
This is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. It's pretty small. I mean, the benefit is most of the altitudes you're flying, you don't have to worry about other aircraft, and you're following the VOR and the other things, all the instrumentation. So really, when you're flying and you need the most visibility, the nose can come down.
So this is where the
nose right here?
Yeah. So the area that's directly in front of us, that glass screen, is the windscreen, and then the area outside of that with the metal struts and all of that is the heat shield, and the nose is just on the other side. So the heat shield goes into the nose when you're going to lower it, and then it drops.
Were these guys like fighter pilots? Because this is almost like a fighter
Yeah, it
plane
does.
feel to it.
No, they were British Air. They were picked from
Oh.
pilots of existing commercial aircraft.
There's so many things. How do you know
Yeah,
all of
yeah, it's a
that?
lot. I mean, it's hydraulic, air bleed, fuel management. This is the big one. Some of this stuff, the instrumentation still exists, and the layout is kind of similar, like the color coding. But most of this, they get rid of all this analog stuff and it's replaced with screens.
It's all electronic.
Yeah. There's 4 engines, so each column represents one engine. It's giving you different readouts about things like temperature, fuel.
So there's no like autopilot or
Well, this does. It does have an autopilot system in the dashboard there. All of those little white buttons are part of the autopilot and the auto throttle system.
Did they use that, or did they just do everything manually?
They would use the autopilot. Auto land is a lot rarer. That's really only if there's extreme fog on the ground.
Okay.
But they would use the autopilot and the auto throttle system. Auto throttle in particular would be helpful for leaning down your fuel consumption.
So they land this by hand.
Yeah.
Wow. At night.
Yeah, I mean it came into Heathrow that way from the U.S. to the U.K. Usually you could sort of set your watch by Concorde.
At night and in rain and all that.
Yeah, yeah, and only the one plane lost and from exterior factors. Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah, this and it's because of that angle of attack, because of the way the nose pitches up when the plane takes off. That's part of the reason the landing gear has to be so tall. When you get under the plane, there's an engine in a box that you can see, but you can also look to the very back, like the butt end of the plane. There's a tiny little wheel there, because the plane sometimes nosed up so high that they had to put a wheel on the back so that it could roll across the tarmac instead of dragging its butt on the ground, basically.
The visibility isn't
No, it's
all that good.
It's not like today, for sure.
And these guys stayed in this. They never would get up.
Yeah, they'd be there basically the whole time.
Wow.
Fortunately, only 3.5 or so hours, but still. Yeah, that one.
They never took a bathroom break.
Well, they the good thing is
They made
both the captain and the first officer, their instrumentation is more or less the same, so
Yeah.
either of them can really fly it.
So they probably could do that.
Yeah, so that wouldn't be too much of a problem. Certainly pre good bit. And there's a seat around the corner on the left, the jump seat that you can sit in. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it's here on the pier. I think we're good caretakers of it, basically. You can have it here. Yeah. Yeah, around 2000. That was renovated. So pretty close to the time that it went out of service. Yeah, it's
So this is where the engineers sat.
exactly. Yeah, definitely by far the busiest person, the person who knows the most about the plane. If anything goes wrong in flight, if any
That's an insane amount
supersonic
of
air gets in the engine,
Buttons.
they know what to do essentially. And that happened occasionally, but I don't think it ever happened to Captain Scott. An engine unstart.
And it had 4.
Yeah, 4 engines, so the throttle has 1, 2, 3, 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the base of the throttle, those white rectangular tabs are for the afterburners.
How do you? Oh yeah, you can't really see that well.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Oh.
The visibility is not great. The heat shield is up and the nose is straight out right now. Takeoff and landing, the visibility would be improved.
So the outside window is the heat shield, right?
Yeah, because the nose of the plane is rated to withstand up to 127 degrees Celsius, which is pretty hot.
Well.
Yeah. So if something's out of whack, you see it pretty quickly. But it's still, it would still be a monumental amount to learn. I definitely still don't know what everything on the flight engineer's deck does.
They probably would have done it if it was still around, though.
Yeah, eventually they would have to.
Yeah.
Right? Safety specifications, standards today. Same thing with noise. Part of the problem Concorde always ran into is noise requirements at airports are just getting more and more stringent.
So do the passengers or the
And this one,
5259.
Huh. That's cool.
Yeah, it's unique. I mean, there's
Really appreciate it. Did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got it.